Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Per. My daytime job is to be the security officer, chief security officer of Nordic Choice Hotels, which is a large hotel chain operating in Nordics, blah, 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 marketing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm 47, I'm single, and I am completely obsessed. You will get the joke soon. And I'm completely obsessed with passwords, and obviously there's no connection between being single and being obsessed with passwords. But I have been married, and I have a daughter aged 12. And some people might not, immediately when I say I'm obsessed with passwords, some people will think that, well, yeah, well, how can you be obsessed with passwords, and how obsessed can you be? And well, here's my car. That's my license plate. It's in Norwegian, but I guess you understand what it actually says. It's password in Norwegian. And even to further prove my interest in passwords, because I'm not interested in football, I'm not interested in sports, I'm not interested in cars. And my hobby, my interest in life is passwords and anything that has to do with digital authentication. So some time ago, I put out a tweet saying that I have a reputation to maintain. I have it verbally from Cormac Hurley. He's a very famous researcher with Microsoft Research in the US. I said, I have it verbally from Cormac Hurley with a witness present that he's interested in passwords while I'm obsessed with it. Cormac, please confirm statement. And he responds back saying, confirm, I have a healthy curiosity while Thorsheim is pathologically obsessed. And I'm actually pretty proud of getting that from Cormac because he does research into passwords and security usability, and he's really, really good at it. So I'm, being a guy, 47, and I have a YouTube channel. It's like, yeah, and I'm on Snapchat as well. But I actually do have a YouTube channel because I am the founder of PasswordsCon, which is the first and only global conference which is only about passwords and digital authentication. And I do that partly as an academic conference, and it's also a conference that I don't make any money from. It's just a hobby to me. And this year is actually the 10th year I do this conference. I've done it in several different countries around the world. So there, of course, you can find recordings from my conference where we talk about everything you can possibly imagine and really can't imagine about passwords. So I'm going to begin with a very simple question. Do you really need an account for that? I put that in my abstract as well, because one of the things that fascinates me is that in so many cases, you don't need an account online to do whatever you want to do. Let's say you want to buy new shoes. Do you really need an account anywhere online to purchase new shoes online? You don't. You can go to an online shoe store that you have never visited before. You can find the shoes, the color and the size and whatever you want, and you can put it in your shopping cart, and then you can say proceed to checkout. You can enter your credit card details. You can enter your shipping address at home, and that's it. Just click, done. And they will send the shoes to you. You haven't created an account at all. There's no account creation process in there. But what you can do, and which is a good idea, because we do know, salespeople, marketing people know this, if we can collect information about people, we can send them, well, spam, really, but we call it marketing material, of course. But it's spam. We can send you spam. And if we send you spam, that will increase the risk of you coming back to us and purchasing more shoes. What so many businesses are doing wrong is that for this account process, they will start out by asking you to create an account. Like, dude, you can't do anything on our web page before you have created an account. And that's stupid. That's, imagine going to a grocery store, you're going to buy dinner. And before getting into the store, they will tell you, you have to prepay for whatever you're going to buy in the store. You will not even be allowed to have a look at what we have on offer today inside the store before you pay us money. Stupid. You don't do that. So what you should do is to make your guest, because we call them guests at our hotels, your customer, you should help them to do whatever they want to do as fast and as easy as possible. And when they have purchased their shoes, and they are really happy, because you tell them, well, we'll ship these shoes off like in the next 15 minutes or so. Here's your tracking number. Then you ask the magic question. Would you like us to store that information to make it even faster for you the next time you want to purchase new shoes? That is essentially asking the user to create an account. But to create an account isn't beneficial to me. I don't understand the benefits of creating an account. So instead, I want you to ask me something that I do benefit from, like make my next visit to your store easier to do. Very simple. And it works. So that's the beginning of my talk. Now, back in 2016, the National Cybersecurity Alliance in the US, that's Google, Microsoft, the US government, and so on, they approached me and said, hey, we are doing the World Password Day on May 4th, which is the International Star Wars Day. Thank you. Are you all Star Trek fans in here? May 4th is the International Star Wars Day, and in 2016, that was also the World Password Day. And the NCSA, they asked me if I could help them to write the official password recommendations for people in the United States. And I said, sure, why not? I don't have anything to do anyway this evening, so why not? And these are the recommendations that I gave for them. Number one, make your password a sentence. Even today, in 2018, lots and lots and lots of people don't know that you can actually use space in your characters between the words. So you can do a sentence, a normal sentence in Norwegian, in Czech, in Chinese, Japanese, whatever your favorite is. And you can write a sentence. And I say, do a sentence that is simple, that is easy to remember, and stuff that is easy to remember is from your past that doesn't change in the future. So guys, if you are married and you're writing something like, I got married on date X in year Y, not a good password. Don't do that. Second tip, and I know this is hard, for every unique account you have, you really should have a unique password. I know that's really hard to do. I'm using a password manager. I have more than 400 accounts. So I'm using my tip number 3. Write down your passwords. Now, I'm using a password manager. I'm 47. I've been sitting in front of a computer since I was 10 years old. So I think I know how to use a password manager. But I wouldn't even try to tell my mother and my father to use a password manager. They are retired and they don't care at all. They've never been interested in the stuff that I do for work. Now, you may think that, well, you've learned from newspapers and from all kinds of sources, you should never write down your password. That's bad advice. You should write them down. You should tell your parents and your friends to write them down. And I will get back to that later in my presentation as well. Because I don't have any perfect solution for you. I have 2 evils, and you have to decide which one is the smallest evil for you. And in the case of writing down passwords, there's a risk, and I do explain that pretty simple. My mom is not a target for Chinese intelligence operations. She's a teacher, or was a teacher, now she's retired. And her and my dad, they are not rich, they're just ordinary, old, retired people. So I can't really imagine why, any Chinese spy would go from Beijing to Haugesund in Norway, which is nowhere, and find my mom's house and break in order to find that piece of paper where you can find her online banking account, her Facebook account, and the email username and password. It doesn't make sense. And I don't think that Chinese intelligence would do that to hit my mom to threaten me either, because I'm not a target either as well. I don't consider myself a target, at least not for Chinese intelligence operations. You know, my talks are on YouTube. I mean, you can see them there. And there are a few threats to my mom and her passwords, of course. Obviously, there's me and my younger sisters. But I'm thinking to myself that, you know, when they pass away, because they will someday, maybe there will be some money left over, and the house and the car. And that has to be split between me and my younger sisters. But if we would do something to my mom's to her online banking account, you know, there's a smaller risk we might not get those money after all. And then there's one risk left, and that's dad. And if my dad would actually face rape my mom's Facebook account, that would just be funny, right? So, you know, write down your passwords. In most cases, it's fine. And last but not least, I told people in the US to use two-factor authentication wherever you can. Now, I'm pretty sure this audience knows everything there is about to know about two-factor authentication. But most people out there on the street, on the school, at the university here, are clueless about two-factor authentication. They have no idea what it is, how it works, and so on. But what you can do to help society, to help your family, to help your friends, show them how to turn on two-factor authentication for Snapchat, for Instagram, for Facebook, for Twitter, and so on. Because all those services do offer two-factor authentication for free. And they really, really, really should turn it on. And those were my recommendations. I don't have anything here about complexity in passwords, like you should use uppercase and lowercase, at least 17 different emojis, of course, a few special characters, a blood sample from yourself. Doesn't work like that. Length by itself is complexity. Length by itself gives high entropy. But use a sentence and you're fine. Now, as maybe quite a few of you as well, you know, I work with security full-time. And usually we don't have any good news for people. It's like, you know, we're going to hell, but, you know, enjoy the day at least. That's what we usually tell people. But I have some good news for you. And the good news is coming on the next slide. And I hope these news are so good that you will spontaneously start laughing, clapping your hands, scream out in pure joy, stand up and clap your hands, and, you know, I'm single, you know, give me a hug if you want to. So, are you ready for the best news of the day? Best news of the day, are you ready? Yeah, of course you are. The best news of the day is mandatory and frequent change of passwords are stupid. There you go. Yay! Finally! And I could just end my presentation there, but sadly I have more slides for you. Because really good research over many, many years have shown us that doing this decreases security. It destroys user experience. You know, I didn't have to tell you that, but, you know, just to put it on the slide. And it's actually a waste of valuable time. Changing passwords, and even then, if you forget your password and you have to call help desk. Help desk. You know, you don't want to do that, and it takes time. And if you have 10,000 employees, if you, like me, have 16,000 employees, I've been talking to our help desk, and I've been looking into how many phone calls and emails are we getting in a year where people say, I forgot my password. And I see in our company that if I can reduce that number by 50%, I can save tons of money. One working position may be 2 full-time positions can be used for something else at our help desk. And it's not about firing them, oh no, doing something more useful than just change passwords. So good usability gives good security. There's a direct link between those two. If your security is bad, usability will be bad, and when usability is bad, security will also become bad again. So when I see bad passwords, if I see bad password policies and usability experience, you know, I tend to get a little bit cranky, and sometimes I tweet about it as well. So you're going to create a new account, right? And you have this standard field where you will enter your email, which is typically your username. You get to choose a password, and maybe they will ask you to type in the password again. This is, you know, very, you know, the simplest way to sign up for an account. Now, first of all, very, very simple. Can you do some magic in your HTML code so that the cursor is actually placed in the email window right at once when I enter the page, so I can just start typing and I don't have to move my cursor in there and click? I mean, is it that hard to do? But this is very simple psychology, very simple usability, and it makes your page easier to use. And when I click Tab, of course, I do assume that I will get to the next input field. And here's a little thing. For so many services, your email is your username, but your email address is not a secret at all in most cases, unless you are like me and use a unique email address for every single service I sign up to. So I can catch those fuckers who are selling my email address to spammers. You know, that's another story. The trick is, if you look at Twitter, you have a handle, a username on Twitter, and you also have an email address, and you can also, if you want to, give them your phone number. An interesting thing is, when you sign up for Twitter, you have to provide them at least an email address and choose a username. But afterwards, when you log into the account, you can log in using your username or even your phone number instead of your email address. And your Twitter username is probably shorter than the email address, so it will just save you like 0.1 seconds to type it in. Pretty genius. And you can use the same process when you're doing account recovery, like I forgot my password as well. Also, simple usability trick. Now, where's the password policy? I'm going to select myself a new password, but you don't say anything about, well, does it have to be 17 characters long? Or does it have to be only 4 characters long? That's not good. Or 6, that's not good either. And are there other requirements? Do you have to use emojis? You know, I'm 47, I don't really do emojis that much. Do you have to use uppercase, lowercase, special characters, numbers in there? Well, it doesn't say. Why doesn't it tell me what the password policy is? Because so many places, still today, you type in a password, you click enter, and then you're told, no, asshole, too bad, you have to use uppercase as well. Okay, well, password with capitalized P then. And then they're told, asshole again, you need numbers as well. Okay, I'm out of here. So tell people what the requirements are at once before they start typing. Okay? It makes it easier, and you will receive more people signing up. If that is the purpose of your page, you will see more people signing up instead of going to the competition. It's that easy. And then there's, you know, select the password. Well, look at me. I'm not creative at all. So I have no idea what I'm going to use. I'm going to use password 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which, by the way, is the most common password used in the world. Well, if you look at the startup company called Perio, which is based in Canada, they are using a Diceware methodology to generate a passphrase, client-side, based on an extensive word list, and based on proven cryptography. So they will give you a passphrase. This is my beloved passphrase, exclamation mark. And then they say, if you want to, you can change it, but you don't have to. You can use this if you like. That's fine. So instead of having people generate a really bad password, give them a good password. And then they eventually can change it into a bad one afterwards. And if you do this, see the I? This is my beloved passphrase, and then you have an I. So you can choose to sort of show or hide the password. A lot of services are using the I, but if you are religious, like Lord of the Rings religious, what does a single I symbolize? Well, it's the evil eye. So in some cases, using an eye, a closed eye, an open eye, isn't such a good idea, but it really depends on, well, who are your customers? And I don't know to what extent you are religious here in the Czech Republic, or what kind of relationship you have with the open eye, the closed eye, but in some areas of the world, it's not a good thing to do. So I do recommend people to use, the words show or hide instead, and you can click them. And if you are designing for desktop, because the majority of your users are sitting in front of a large desktop computer, I would recommend you to not show the password by default. But if you are designing for mobile first, I would actually recommend you that the default setting is to show the password while it's typed in. But if you choose to do that, you also have to tell the user, there's nothing wrong about you being able to see your password when you type it in. We are just making it easier for you. But you can click this button to hide your password while you type it in. And last but not least, when you do have the show hide option, there's no point anymore in having the additional please enter your password one more time. And that also saves the user more time, saves energy to set up a new account. Simple tricks. And last but not least, wrong way. Use a password strength meter. Gamification. Reward the user for having a strong password. Reward the user for turning on two-factor authentication. MailChimp. Spam. MailChimp, they offer two-factor authentication for free. And MailChimp says in their policy, if you enable two-factor authentication for your account, you will get a 10% discount. That's it. Like forever. As long as you have two-factor authentication turned on. That's simple. It's a very good trick to use to improve security for the customer and for you. Now, the 10% discount, yeah, well, you have to calculate that one. The thing is, when your users are enabling two-factor authentication, chances are smaller for them having their account compromised, which results in you having to help them for free, probably, to fix your account. Maybe somebody will leak it to the press, and you will have less new customers signing up because, they have bad security. So try to figure out how to make security beneficial in a financial way for your customers. And MailChimp, perfect example, 10% discount, done. And then suddenly, you pick a password and you're being told that, well, you are using invalid characters like, illegal hacking characters for SQL injection as an example. And this guy, it's not me, he wrote on Twitter that, no, there's nothing wrong about the password policy. You have idiots doing your code. And I think that, this is the perfect location to say this. And then you can go online, and here I am on How Secure Is My Password, which is one of the many, many web pages out there where you can type in your password, and of course you're an idiot if you do so. But if you do, and I type in my name, Per Thorsheim, I'm being told that, oh, wow, fantastic password. It's going to take hackers 923,000 years to crack that password. Now, if I asked you, all of you, to try to break into my account, would you actually wait 923,000 years before you tried my name? Raise your hands if you would. Yeah. Knew it. There's always one. So one of the topics I've been talking and writing about before is never trust password meters. They are silicon snake oil. At best, they will give you an indication on the strength of your password, but be careful with them. And a lot of them are not good. There are some that are good, but again, they don't look at the context. They don't see my name. They don't see my username. They don't see my home address, the name of my daughter or my ex-wife. So if I use any of those words, I might end up with a really good password filter saying, that's a great password, but it's actually the name of my daughter. Now, being obsessed with passwords, it is also important to me to tell you the value of a password. And I do this with this story here. AP, Associated Press on Twitter. This happened a couple of years ago. They had almost 2 million followers on Twitter. And one day they suddenly tweeted that, breaking, 2 explosions in the White House and Barack Obama is injured. Now, that never happened. The US president was never injured in 2 explosions there. And this news only appeared on the Twitter channel of AP. Nobody else put out this news because it is fake news. And the question for you, the audience, is, do you think that one single tweet from one single news agency had any impact on anyone, anywhere in the world? Hands up? Yeah, good. It did. The Dow Jones Index actually fell by $136.5 billion because of that single tweet. And it took 7 minutes before the Dow Jones Index was back at normal, because then everybody had understood, no, it didn't happen, go back to normal again. Now, if you are a bad guy, or if you are planning on, well, sort of retiring soon, and you think you can pull off something like this, obviously without getting caught, then you could be a Linux developer in Czech Republic today, and tomorrow you're on your flight to Bahamas for a wealthy, pleasant life for the rest of your life, with 3 new wives and a super yacht. And in this case, the Syrian Electronic Army said, we did it. And they are, or they were, political supporters of the current regime in Syria. They thought President Bashar al-Assad is a great guy. And we don't know if they are dead. We don't know if they made any money from this. And that's concerning. But they haven't been caught by anyone. So the current value of a single password for a single account is $136.5 billion. And then, I tell my ex-wife that I'm going to Prague to talk about passwords and do my stupid jokes. And she says that, well, you're single, and if you have any intention of meeting a woman ever again, you need other interests as well. And you're not interested in football or in sports or cars and so on. And I say, well, I do have other hobbies as well. Obviously, everybody has that. And she says, well, name one. And I say, PIN codes. You've got to have more than one hobby in life, right? So it's, and PIN codes is something completely different than passwords. Or at least people think so. So what I did back in 2013, I went to a school in Bergen, my hometown, and I had all these students there, plus minus 17 years old, and I asked them to write down on a piece of paper, write down a 4-digit PIN code, make one, and write it down on a piece of paper, and be absolutely sure you can remember that PIN code in a month from now on, because I will come back and I will ask you, do you remember your PIN code? And they were like, ooh. And they write down a PIN code and also ask them to write down, boy or girl on the piece of paper. And I collected that. I sit at home on Friday evenings, watch YouTube, drink Coca-Cola, do statistics on this stuff. And before even looking at the paper notes, I asked them, how many of you picked 1996? And a lot of these kids started laughing because 1996 is the year they were born, which in most circumstances is very easy to remember unless you start getting older. I'm not looking at anyone. Sorry. And when I asked them 1996, a lot of them, they started laughing. And, some of the girls, they were also blushing. Like, oh, wow, you're good. And then there were also, of course, some boys in the audience. And they were like, what? Who could possibly be so stupid and pick 1996 as a PIN code? It's stupid! And I look at these guys, and you know your own kind, right? So I can tell you now that the second most popular PIN code amongst the boys was actually 1996. The question for the audience is, which PIN code do you think was the most popular PIN code selected by the boys? Any suggestions? 1990, listen carefully, Veronica. They're all guys answering 1996 or 1, 2, 3, 4. And by doing that, they are proving the male absolute dominance in intelligence. Really. That's how smart men can be. And when I do this talk, and eventually, if there is a woman present, she will also suggest 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1996, and is sort of confirming what women already know about men in the same case. But no, it wasn't that. The most popular PIN code was... Come on, guys! Nobody here plays computer games? Do you play games? Raise your hand. Be honest. But you didn't select... Okay. Weirdos. The thing is, when I said, how many in the audience are using 1337? The boys were like, yeah! And all the girls in the room, no exceptions, they're like, oh, God, no. Because they, I had to explain to them what it means. And then I was at university in Norway, Trondheim, and I did the same thing, the same test there. And there were quite a few women in the audience as well. And there was one woman who raised her hand and said, I used 1337, that was my pick. So I ran up to her and like, wow, you could be the woman of my dreams. I'm like, yeah. By example only, Miguel. And I looked at her, but I have to ask you a question. Do you play computer games? And she said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. Okay, well, fuck it. But she said, I understand what 1337 is. Because I have friends, male friends, who play computer games. But, she said, my postal address is 1337. It's just outside our capital, Oslo, in Norway. And whereby, of course, a lot of the guys in the audience are like, I want to move to Oslo, Norway. That's where I want to live. Because of the postal address. So, again, very simple psychology to predict people's PIN codes and eventually also passwords. And some of the most common PIN codes in the world are these. And, well, you can probably figure them out, but 5683 may look a little bit more special to you. 5683. Does it make sense to anyone in the room? Other suggestions? If you look at the letters, below the numbers, it says L-O-V-E, love. That's your new pin code, Veronica. And some of the stuff that I've done, for research purposes only, obviously, is to look at which pin codes people will select when they are doing a 4-digit memorable pin code. And a 4-digit non-memorable, I will ask you to generate a 4-digit pin code that you think you can't remember in a month from now on. And I've also asked people to generate a 7-digit pin code that you can remember in a month from now on. And this is interesting because you will see that if I ask Norwegian people to generate a 4 or 7-digit pin code, they will most likely not use the number 6. But if I ask them to make a pin code that you can't remember, very few will be using 0. And just like that, I have done a pretty good key space reduction. I'm just amazing at parties. I can kill any party by, starting doing these mind tricks to people. But even more interesting, at the University of Cambridge in the UK, they've done even more extensive research on this. And they have found, and they have a few papers, put up your phone and take a picture if you like. But they have done some research a couple of years ago where they looked at user-selected pin codes. And statistically, they say, before I leave this room today, I can steal 11 mobile phones from this room. And you have selected your own 4-digit pin code. And that's all. I don't know anything else about you, your gender, age, interests, nothing. You have a 4-digit pin code and you have made it yourself. Statistically, with 3 attempts per phone, I will be able to get access to 1 in 11 phones. That's really good odds. Now think about credit cards. So watch your credit cards for the rest of the day. So my daughter is going to be 12 years old in December, and she has a 10-digit PIN code on her iPad. And I've learned her a very simple methodology. Look at the letters below the numbers. So she types in a word which could be as simple as Johansen, which is a very common last name in Norway, and that corresponds to 56426736. So my daughter doesn't actually know her PIN code. She just types in a very easy word to remember, but she types it in the form of numbers. Now, you may wonder, is she as crazy as her dad? And obviously, my daughter has done a risk analysis or a threat analysis to be true to it. It's a one-page, written in big red letters. It says, the name of the report is Dad. That's basically it. I'm a threat to her different, high scores in different games, so she needs a 10-digit PIN code on her iPad. That's it. I also done some work into looking at Android lock patterns, which is probably more familiar with lots of you people, because I'm guessing lots of you are running Android phones. Now, this is Marte Løge. She was a student a couple of years ago at the University in Trondheim. She did her master's degree, and she was looking into how people create lock patterns. Again, this is psychology, and one of the things she found is that approximately 10% they will actually use a standard English alphabet letter as their lock pattern. So even though this methodology in theory has so many more combinations than just using a PIN code, in reality, using a lock pattern doesn't really provide much better security than a 4-digit PIN code, because people are easy. And this also ended up in a paper named Unuser Choice for Android Lock Patterns that you can find on Google Scholar as an example if you want to read more about it. But again, back to passwords. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away from here, I did a penetration test, and I was allowed to crack the password for more than 5,000 people. and we cracked all the passwords for all the people, and we also got access to a headshot from access cards used by these people. And one evening, I was sitting with a friend of mine that was working with me at the time, and I can't really remember who asked the question, but one of us asked the other one the question, do you think women have better passwords than men? And we're like, oh, wow, that's an idea. So what we did, we put all the pictures and all the passwords into a database, and we spent a couple of evenings analyzing the pictures, looking at stuff like, well, gender is pretty obvious to figure out from picture. And we also saw, do they have glasses on or not? We don't know if they are using them on a regular basis. We don't know if they use contact lenses. But, some people had glasses, so we put that into the database. And we also look at hair color. So, well, there's no hair present. It could be blonde, super blonde, brunette, redhead, and what we in Norway call silver fox. And then we also saw that, well, some people have facial hair as well. So, no facial hair, mustache, small beard, full beard, Unix guru. Ring a bell? What it kind of looks like. And we also said we need the porn donut as well. That's this one. And now I've had that myself, but yeah, that's the porn donut. And with this information in a database, and of course a couple of beers, you can do SQL queries. And what do we find? Well, we do find that women prefer length. So, there's no point in arguing anymore about that one. It's done. Women, on average, have longer passwords than men, and you probably thought about something else. But women have, on average, longer passwords than men. It's not by much, like 0.2 characters or something, but they have longer passwords. And men prefer a wider selection or higher entropy, if you like. Yeah, maybe. I'm not going to say something. But perhaps the most interesting finding, the Unix gurus has the absolute worst passwords. Now you know. And I've talked about this many, many times before. So this actually ended up as a news story by BBC News. And people have been commenting on that story online, and they were like, did you guys just write an article on BBC News where you say that the women prefer length and now it's proven? And the response from BBC is, yes. So, you can't really say that BBC News is fake news, so there you go. So, here's a password for you, September 1. What's the next password going to be? September 2. Oh, wow, you're good. What's the next password going to be? September 3. Wow, you could be password crackers professionally. 50, 60% of all employees in any large organization, they do exactly that when they change their password. So your next password is your current password plus 1. That easy. That's just one reason for stopping frequent password change. Doesn't make sense. The patterns are incredibly obvious. The only thing you do is to create bad security, bad usability, and as a security engineer, nobody wants to have lunch with you at work. And this is Laurie Craig. Now, she's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and she was also working for the Federal Trade Commission, and they have also done extensive research into this. So this is not just me saying this. This is also the US government saying, stop password change unless you know or you have good reasons to believe that your password has been compromised. Then, obviously, you should change your password. And the NIST, which is a US standards organization, have made a new version of SP 800-63B, which talks a lot about digital authentication. Stuff like stop doing the forced and regular password change, drop the complexity requirements, like you don't have to use emojis anymore in your passwords or uppercase and lowercase, because length by itself creates good complexity or entropy, if you like. And they also did say, I think they removed it in the end, but they also at least talked about for a long time, stop using text messages for sending secrets because it's too easy to intercept them. So if you are going to do two-factor authentication, don't do it by text message, please. And if you have a service today that is using SMS, try to figure out a better way to do it. And last but not least from NIST, implement dynamic password block lists, like block the 1,000 most common passwords on the internet so that people can't use them for your service. Because we do have online password guessing attacks, where people just sit in front of the computer and actually try to log in to your account. But if they fail within 1,000 attempts, or long before they have got all the way up to 1,000 attempts, they will stop and they will go somewhere else. But you don't have to block 100 million passwords. That, again, will give you bad user experience. But block approximately top 1,000 passwords. That's a good idea. Along with a friend of mine in the UK, well, he made it. It's a Google Chrome plugin called Keyboard Privacy. It's for free, of course. We made it because one evening I told him that, you know, Paul, I've been looking at this system. It's from a company in Sweden, and they are actually doing biometric identification on who you are, or is it really you, typing on a keyboard based on how you type. How long do you keep one of the keys pressed down, and how long time is there between each and every key press that you do, and two other parameters. And research into this have shown, as an example, if we put up a keyboard and we ask people to go into the room and start typing on the keyboard, we have no idea who they are. We don't know the gender, age, anything. But as soon as they have pressed 8, 9 keys on the keyboard, we can, with a pretty high standard, 60, 70%, we can actually tell you if it is a man or a woman typing on the keyboard. Because men and women actually type differently on keyboards, believe it or not. And that can be used to track people. So we made this plugin. It's very, very simple. Whatever you type on your keyboard, every single key press, this plugin will put in a time delay between 0 and 50 milliseconds between every keystroke you do. And it's a random value between 0 and 50 milliseconds. Now, 50 milliseconds is so small that you won't be able to see it on screen. But because of that, we are completely destroying any opportunity they might have to generate a profile on you. And basically, this helps you hide online. And the proof of concept code was one single line of JavaScript. Getting close to my time, and when I've been talking about passwords for this long, sometimes I also do experience people coming up to me and like, well, passwords, dude, like really? I'm using Touch ID, duh. And I'm all like, yeah, duh. Some people might need 2 extra seconds to understand what's actually going on here. But in one single picture, the guy who tweeted this just moments after Steve Jobs announced the iPhone 5S with Touch ID online, there was this guy putting out this one picture here. And this basically is my opinion on biometric authentication and how good it is. Now, I'm sorry to say this, but you're going to die. Not today. I didn't bring a Norwegian bomb with me. But sometime you are, you are going to die. I'm not going to say probably die. I actually believe that we are going to die. But the thing is, before you die, I want you to write down your passwords. And I'm going to show you a very small video. Now, the video is, the language is in Norwegian, so I will turn off my sound, and I will be the voice for you instead. Okay. It's a 1-minute video. Goes like this. I put it up on YouTube, and the title of the video is "To Our Young Ones." To our young ones. Dear Mom and Dad, if you are reading this letter, I have gone missing against my own will. In this letter, you will find a list of usernames and passwords for my email, Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram accounts. Those can be used by you and the police to find me. I put it in this envelope that says, "For emergency use only," on the shelf in my room. Please remember that I love you. And please come and find me. Now, many years ago, when I was young and handsome, I started working for a large telecom provider in Norway. And one of the first things I did was to walk around and ask all the sysadmins to stand up, all the Cisco equipment managers to stand up, all the Windows domain administrators, they exist as well, to stand up. And I said to them, I want you to write down the root password on a piece of paper. And I also want you to write down the IP address and the DNS name of that system. And I want you to put that piece of paper in an envelope and glue it together. And on the outside of the envelope, you will also write the IP address and the DNS name of the system. And I'm going to collect all those envelopes. I'm going to put them into a safe that not only I, but also several other colleagues that we trust have access to. So if you die, if you get sick, if you go on vacation, if you're just sleeping at home and you don't have your phone on, we will still be able to access the system and fix any and all problems, and we can make life go on. And that is why I am obsessed with passwords, and I think that we should stop doing bad stuff related to passwords and start trusting each other.